Omari with Charizard, Rotom Wash, Garchomp, Mamoswine, Venusaur, Scrafty, and Jackson going with Amoonguss, Blastoise, Tyranitar, Rotom Heat, Salamence, and Aegislash?
Sounds good to me.
Aegislash? And these are all actually new Pokemon that I have not seen before.
I'm excited to see the Blastoise. I'm figuring it's probably the Mega for his team. So I'm excited to see what he can do with it.
Right. Do you see any strategy to Jackson's team?
Good Pokemon. And Amoonguss.
Read and react, I believe that's what they call
Yeah,
it. Read and react. So now, just waiting for both players to select their team. Omari, again, running that Sun team that has become really popular.
It has. Charizard's definitely a good Pokemon, as long as you hit all your Heat Waves.
Those Heat Wave Mists. I actually won one because of Heat Wave Mist.
Did you?
Yeah. That's the only reason why I finished 23rd.
That's a strong finish.
Yeah, because of a Heat Wave Miss.
Mm-hmm.
95% accuracy, I believe?
90.
90?
Yeah.
Cool. Getting back on the action now, Omari sending out Garchomp and Charizard leads, while Jackson sends out Rotom Heat and Blastoise. Blastoise.
Yes, Blastoise. I believe it can Mega Evolve.
Right, Blastoise with its new Mega Evolution and new ability.
Yeah, it's a pretty great new ability that Blastoise has.
And what do you know, Blastoise Mega Evolving with that brand new ability of it.
We're going to see it put on full display here in a minute.
And Garchomp protects itself for the turn. Charizard going for the double protect.
Yeah, avoiding
Charizard.
that Blastoise Fake Out, because Blastoise does learn Fake Out.
Blastoise does learn Fake Out.
And there it is, the Blastoise Fake Out.
And Will-O-Wisp coming out on the Garchomp and the Avoid, so that was a good turn on Omari's part.
Yeah,
I mean,
just burn that Fake Out.
Yeah,
it's always nice when you can just basically kill one of the move choices your opponent made.
Right, Jackson opting to switch in the Rotom Heat, switch out the Rotom Heat for a Tyranitar, bringing out the
It's an
Sand.
interesting choice. I thought Rotom Heat was actually in a fairly good position for itself. Able to Will-O-Wisp, Garchomp, or Thunderbolt. Charizard.
Charizard Y Mega Evolving and bringing out the Sun that Jackson brought out the Sand, but it gets nullified by that Mega Evolution.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Jackson was hoping for there, because now Solar Beam is going to do a pretty good number to Blastoise.
Right. The Rock Slide comes out and does negligible damage to both Pokemon. Charizard in the Sun firing off a Solar Beam, and that will hit Blastoise most likely, and that is massive damage, and Blastoise goes down. The Mega Blastoise goes down.
And so we didn't get to see its ability put into action there.
Never got to see its ability. Never got to see Mega Launcher in action. Replacing the Blastoise is Rotom Heat for Jackson, and now that Tyranitar not getting Sanded was a big bummer.
Yeah, it really was. I would have liked to see Jackson leave Rotom in and let it have another chance at Will-O-Wisp and bring in T-Tar to actually reset the weather, but he's going to try to do that now.
Right, Amoonguss switching in for the Tyranitar, going to probably try to bait that Solar Beam, and Garchomp comes out with the Rock Slide, does about 60% or 40% to Rotom Heat, and Solar Beam comes out, targeting down that Amoonguss, quadruple resist, negligible damage, not very effective. Rotom comes out with a Thunderbolt, and that will bring it down into the red, barely holds on.
Maybe in sand range if Jackson can get his Tyranitar in.
Right, absolutely. Right now, who do you think has that advantage, the advantage in the match? Who has the momentum?
Oh, I think Omari clearly has the momentum, but I think he could turn on a dime if Jackson can get a good switch in here.
And Jackson does call in Tyranitar.
Hopefully not into an Earthquake.
I think it's a pretty safe switch for the most part. Tyranitar brings out its Sand, and Garchomp brings out the Rock Slide. Yeah, negligible damage.
I was thinking that Omari might predict that switch there, but he just goes for the safer play and Rock Slides to keep himself from getting burnt.
Right, and Heat Wave comes out, and Amoonguss barely holds on and gets out a Spore onto the Garchomp.
This is a pretty good big swing in momentum here for Jackson. He's going to lose his Amoonguss, but I think Charizard's going to go down too.
Once a Pokemon falls asleep, momentum is pretty big. And Amoonguss falls to the Sandstorm while Charizard barely holds on. And now it is It is Tyranitar versus the Tyranitar and Rotom Heat versus the world. Rotom Heat comes in, and now
see here
2-on-4.
If you try to just have Sand kill Charizard, you're going to lose one of your turns of sleeping Garchomp. So it's kind of an interesting position for Jackson. We'll see which he values more.
Absolutely, but at the same time, both those Pokemon wall Charizard.
If Charizard gets Sun back up, it can do a pretty big chunk to Tyranitar's Solar Beam.
Right.
And he did. He opted to switch it out and try to bring back in Sun and keep himself from dying to Sand.
Rowan Wash comes in and takes the Thunderbolt, and was that Outrage?
That was Dragon Dance.
Dragon Dance. Dragon Dance T-Tar. Sand damage will now affect the entire field of Rotoms.
So many Rotoms.
2 Rotoms. I've seen a Rotom on every team, I believe.
It's a fairly good Pokemon, and good stat range, and versatility in what type it is.
And their appliances.
And that's probably the most important aspect of Rotom, is its nature as an appliance.
Their appliances. Tyranitar coming out with the Rock Slide after that Dragon Dance boost, and Rotom Wash from Omari holds on and eats its Citrus Berry to recover itself back into the L. Garchomp wakes up and fires off an Earthquake.
1 turn sleep in the EQ is big here. We're going to see if Tyranitar can hold on, or...
And Tyranitar will be knocked out. Critical hit.
That's
and
rough
now
for Jackson.
It is Rotom Heat versus the world. And Rotom Heat barely holds on. Rotom Heat gets off the Thunderbolt. Rotom Wash barely holds on, but will fall to Sand, and the Hydro Pump miss from Omari's Rotom Wash.
The oven was the superior appliance in this case.
I believe if you throw an oven into a washing machine, that is electrocution.
Probably so. Probably will break both your oven and your washing machine.
That is true, but I think the washing machine would beat the toaster.
Yeah. What if we get the lawnmower involved?
Nugget Bridge, we are also appliance enthusiasts out here. Rotom Heat takes a Dragon Claw from Garchomp, and Charizard Y will finish off Rotom Heat. The toaster burnt out.
So Omari takes game 1 here, but I think there's definitely room for Jackson to make adjustments, and if he's more careful with his weather switches next game, he definitely has a chance to turn it around.
Right, and Jackson definitely has to go back and think, how do I protect Mega Blastoise a lot more, probably.
Yeah, you don't want to Mega Evolve and then never even attack with your Mega Evolve Pokemon. It's not really a good way to use that one Mega Pokemon per team.
Right. Cool.
Well, we were saying that
back to the action now as both of the players are ready to go. Jackson7 down in the hole here in the semifinals of the Pokemon Video Game Championships in Long Beach, California against Omari BadIntent. Mic's on. So Jackson leads with Salamence and Blastoise against Omari's Charizard and Garchomp, showing off the Salamence this round.
Yeah, choosing it over Rotom, otherwise the exact same lead matchup as last game.
Blastoise reacting to the Mega Ring and Mega Evolving once again for the Mega Launcher ability that it gets.
So we're definitely looking for a more positive first 2 or 3 turns for Jackson this game. So.
Definitely can't lose the Mega Evolution. I mean, Mega Evolutions are big.
They are. They are actually larger than most of their Pokemon they Mega Evolve from, too. So.
Double Protect from Omari to avoid the Fake Out and the Draco Meteor from the Salamence, and now that was a null turn, and here we go. Omari's gonna try to seal the deal here.
So do you think Omari will just do the exact same thing he did last game, or will he expect Jackson to make an adjustment and proactively make an adjustment himself?
Well, I really like what Omari is doing here by holding off to Solar Beam until he finally needs Solar Beam to Mega Evolve and bring out the Drought.
So,
And
good
Jackson definitely protecting his.
Yeah, learned his lesson last game and isn't going to let his Blastoise die on turn 2 this time.
Right, as Charizard Y appears from Charizard, and now the Drought comes out as Jackson switches in Amoonguss to replace Blastoise, and Salamence fires off a Draco Meteor. And that hits the Garchomp. And Focus Sash.
So I think
Focus Sash Garchomp. And Garchomp will survive.
So I think the speeds here were interesting this turn. Charizard was faster than Salamence, but Salamence was faster than Garchomp. No? Oh, I am not paying attention.
Remember, guys, it is almost 1 a.m. out here in the West Coast. That is 4 a.m. East Coast time.
So this makes much more sense. That's probably a Scarf Mint, seeing how it outsped Garchomp. So.
Right. If you're out there still watching, then you are also a trooper. So as we all know now, that is a Scarf Salamence who is out in the field as Garchomp survives with 1 HP. And Charizard fired off a Solar Beam into the Amoonguss.
But Amoonguss switches in safely in that Solar Beam, but is immediately at threat from any fire attack from Charizard.
Right. And switches from both sides right now as Omari does not want Garchomp in there anymore and switches out for Rotom Wash. And Tyranitar comes in to change the weather. That is a good play.
Yes, Jackson used the turn where Charizard Mega Evolved to bring in and block the Solar Beam. And
Draco Meteor Avoid from Omari. And that is hurtful, but Charizard fires off an Overheat into Tyranitar to weaken itself in the special attack stat. Sand damage all around. Who do you think has the advantage right now?
I think both players are pretty evenly matched right now. Look for Omari to try to take back control of the weather war here and see if he can turn that to his advantage.
I think this is going to be a good old-fashioned weather war.
It seems like it.
Haven't had one of those in a while. Salamence switching out for Amoonguss on Jackson's side, as Charizard does the same for Mamoswine. Mamoswine did work earlier in Omari's top 32 battle with GW as Tyranitar gets off the Dragon Dance. And Rotom Wash fires off a Thunder Wave onto the Tyranitar, nullifying any Dragon Dance boost that happened in speed.
Until it gets carried by the Lumberry.
Lumberry from Jackson. That is pretty cool.
It definitely worked there.
Right now, Amoonguss with the Black Sludge. Right now is still 4-on-4. There's been a lot of switching. This is a really good match.
It really is.
Jackson's definitely adjusted well.
He definitely figured out what went wrong last game and kept it from happening again.
Right. I think the key thing that he's done so far is protect that Mega Blastoise from getting knocked out the first turn.
Yeah, and as part of doing that, he took control of the weather much more effectively than he did last game, which has helped him a lot.
And now Tyranitar opting to protect itself from anything that is thrown at it this turn as Rotom continues to try to paralyze it. And Icicle Crash comes out onto the Blastoise for negligible damage because of Blastoise's bulk, and it's not very effective either. I think Jackson's put himself in a pretty good position.
He has a Blastoise should be able to do good damage to Mamoswine if he can get an attack off, and Tyranitar's at +1/+1, so.
Dragon Dance Tyranitar is a scary Pokemon to face down.
Every Tyranitar is a scary Pokemon, and you never know what you're going to get when you see one.
Right. Jackson's Tyranitar going for a Rock Slide on both of BadIntent's Pokemon, activating Rotom Wash's Citrus Berry to bring it down from yellow health back into green health, and Aura Sphere comes out from Blastoise, which gets a boost
because of its ability.
Mega Launcher. Its ability Mega Launcher. And Mamoswine gets knocked out, and Jackson takes a 4-3 lead as he has to sacrifice that for Tyranitar to be able for Rotom paralyzing Tyranitar. But I think that is a good trade.
It was. Omari put a lot of effort into getting that T-Wave off. It's the third time he's clicked T-Wave, and he's only now paralyzed the Tyranitar. So.
Right. And that is definitely kind of something that Omari had to think about. I mean, he had the opportunity to Thunderbolt Blastoise, but he kind of is singling out Tyranitar as a threat.
Well, he knows that he needs to keep his Charizard alive, and a +1 speed, +1 attack, Tyranitar is going to be a huge threat to Charizard. So this opens up the playing field for Charizard a lot.
Omari's definitely put himself in a better position for the turns ahead.
Yeah, he's taking over control of the Weather War again, but if Jackson can accurately predict where the Solar Beam is going and bring Amoonguss back into it, he can start to quickly turn it around.
There's always that option for Protect, and then to bring in Amoonguss and just Rage Powder away the Solar Beam and just get that, maybe get a chance off to knock out that Charizard, but we'll see how Jackson plays it. Statistics, again, being spread out onto the screen as super training regimens.
Ooh, BadIntent, lots of PP ups.
PP,
he does not want to struggle in this game.
He does not want to struggle. Jackson withdrawing his Blastoise, protecting his Mega, and sending out Salamence, and that is a good switch.
Hopefully.
Well, ideally right now it looks like a good switch.
Oh, he's double switch. So bringing in Grass Resist in both spots, he's just going to try to completely negate the Solar Beam wherever it's going.
And Charizard does fire off the Solar Beam, but none of those Pokemon will actually care about it.
And this gives Jackson a chance to take back over the weather in future turns.
Right, and now Rotom Wash firing off a Thunderbolt. Oh, if only he switched that placement, but you can't complain about where Jackson is right now.
No. But yeah, you would have liked to see him switch that, knowing that Thunderbolt might be coming in on Blastoise.
Right. Both players now taking their time making their moves. I mean, this is key turns in the match right now as Amoonguss protects itself.
Amoonguss is an important Pokemon for the future of the game here. He doesn't want to lose it too quickly to a big fire move.
That Scarf Salamence firing off Draco Meteor onto the Rotom Wash. That is going to do massive damage, but Rotom Wash is pretty bulky, and it holds on.
Just barely.
Survives with 12 HP, and the overheat coming out onto the Amoonguss as Salamence will go down to this Thunderbolt from Rotom Wash.
It's a big turn. If Draco Meteor had actually managed to secure that KO there, it would have been really big for Jackson.
I think Jackson's not in bad shape anymore. I mean, now he can bring in Tyranitar to change the weather.
To once again put the weather his way.
Absolutely. And remember, he has one more. Omari has one more Pokemon in the back, but that's a 1 HP Garchomp.
Yeah.
I actually think Jackson's in a really good position right now. All he needs to do is just Rage Powder and then Rock Slide, and really nothing can happen unless
Overheat's still going to hurt Amoonguss a lot.
Well, I think
even without Sun,
it's time to maybe Omari or Jackson has to just
lose this Amoonguss here. He's probably going to get a Charizard KO for his effort. So
absolutely, and the overheat goes off, and Amoonguss gets knocked out as.
And we will get to see Rotom get an attack off on Tyranitar before we get a big Hydro Pump here.
Hydro Pump comes off, and Tyranitar survives, and
gets
Tyranitar gets off the Rock Slide, double hit, and that's
double
a double
KO.
knockout. That is a great turn for Jackson as he takes on a 2-1 lead.
That's going to be... but with Blastoise still coming back out, it's going to be tough for Omari to kill both these Pokemon. Tyranitar by itself would be no problem, but I think Blastoise is bulky enough to take an Earthquake and easily KO Garchomp back, unless Sandvale can...
Sandvale, but...
We already know it's...
it might be Rough Skin.
We've seen Rough Skin.
It might be Rough Skin. But yeah, Omari is in a tough spot, and Omari just doesn't want that Fake Out to come out.
Doesn't want the Fake Out, and he does want to get as much sand damage from Blastoise as he can.
Absolutely. Blastoise is physically bulky, and it is a turtle after all with a shell.
Yes.
So Omari now selecting his move as Jackson selects his move, and this right here will be the last turn, pretty much. Garchomp goes off for the Earthquake. That will knock out Tyranitar. That is super effective. Blastoise hangs on with plenty of HP to spare. And Blastoise finishes off with Dragon Pulse, showing off Dragon Pulse.
We saw Aura Sphere for Blastoise earlier. I thought maybe he would totally negate Sandvale, even the opportunity of it.
Absolutely, you are right. Aura Sphere does dodge it. And yeah, but Jackson going for the Dragon Pulse instead. And Jackson will tie up the series 1-1. And here we are going into Game 3 of the semifinals here at the Pokemon Video Game Regional Championships in Long Beach, California. Welcome back, and we are ready to go into Game 3 right now. On the other side of the bracket, Paul and Gavin are still playing their match, so the winner of this will play the winner of that. I really like Jackson's team.
Yeah.
This just in, Paul is currently up 1-0 against Gavin in their set.
Jackson adjusted very well that last game to really take control of the weather through most of the game and use it to his advantage.
He played that match a lot better.
Now it's Omari's turn to make his own adjustments and try to regain the weather himself.
Right. Now it just comes down to a weather war. Jackson knows Omari's team. He saw he got some crucial information from...
Learning that sash was big for Jackson.
That was huge, right. And now Jackson and Omari entering Game 3. Blastoise and Moongus for Jackson leads. And the usual Charizard and Garchomp leads for Omari. What do you think, Len?
Well, so far what we've seen from Omari is just wanting to avoid that fake out no matter what. So he's probably just going to safely avoid it again.
Right. Jackson could actually see through that ploy and get a free switch in
He
here.
could if there was some change he wanted to make. If there's something else he wants to have in this matchup. But after this many turns of this many games of Omari leading the exact same thing, he may have just led exactly what he wanted to.
Justin Billard, we will get that message to Paul for you. Starting off right now, Mega Blastoise hits the field after Blastoise reacts to its ring. And Garchomp goes for the Protect, and I believe this is going to be another double Protect.
Yeah.
Charizard also goes for a double Protect as well.
Omari is made for very boring turn ones this match.
Doesn't want to deal with Fake Out at all, and Amoonguss goes for the Spore. And now we play the game.
So it's very interesting what Omari decides to do here. He has two prime targets for Charizard, but either one could go badly on the switch. So we have to see what he chooses to do.
Absolutely. Again, shoutouts to everybody still on the stream. Thanks for tuning in. I know it's really late, but this is Pokemon. This Pokemon is serious business.
Yeah.
Yep.
And most serious business is done after 2 a.m.
Absolutely. Charizard Y finally revealing itself. The cheers from the crowd. The crowd goes wild as red vines are passed around.
Just tossed. They're viciously fighting each other for just a few red vines as
Drought
hunger is
comes
starting to
out.
mount.
Drought comes out as Charizard Y hits the field, and Amoonguss sets off a Rage Powder, and Garchomp fires off a Rock Slide, minimal damage, and a Heat Wave comes out onto both the Jackson Pokemon, and Amoonguss goes down so early.
So I think it's interesting. I was discussing which Pokemon Jackson would choose to switch. Jackson chose to switch
Blastoise gets flinched on the Rock Slide.
That is awful.
That is so crucial. That was so big.
Jackson was probably going to KO the Pokemon of his choice that turn. He wouldn't have actually been able to KO to Garchomp, but taking it to Sash.
Right. And now Rotom Heat comes out for Jackson, and that is just such...
Amoonguss was an important pivot last game in allowing Jackson to take over the weather by switching to Solar Beam. And
right.
Not having that anymore is going to hurt.
Now BadIntent decides to switch out Charizard for his own Rotom Wash, as Blastoise also decides to switch out. Tyranitar comes in, and Omari must have seen that, and now they're playing the Weather War.
Yeah, Omari proactively won the weather for another turn there by switching out his Charizard to come in and make it sunny another day.
It is so tense in here, you could cut the tension with a butter knife. It is so silent in here. Tension is rising. Thunderbolts come out. Thunderbolt from Jackson's Rotom Heat comes out onto Rotom Wash. Who do you think? Who do you think has the advantage right now? I think Omari has the clear advantage.
I think Omari has a very clear advantage now. Again, he was able to have a strong turn too. That's really put Jackson in a hole for the rest of the game by losing a crucial Pokemon.
Right. Jackson decides to switch out Rotom. He doesn't want to stay in on the washing machine, and switches in Dragonite or Blastoise.
It looks very similar to Dragonite. Shares a lot of characteristics with Dragonite.
Tyranitar
Easy to
protects
get those two
itself
confused.
as Garchomp fires off an Earthquake, and Rotom Wash hits into the Protect. Blastoise now in the red, and this just does not look good for Jackson at all.
Yeah, that bulk that allowed Blastoise to tank an Earthquake last game isn't there anymore. And
Rotom Wash eats its Citrus Berry after being chipped by Sandstorm damage. Jackson is in such a tough spot right now.
Yeah.
I mean, that flinch in the beginning,
it
that
really hurt. But
definitely hurt.
I'm not sure that I agreed with losing Amoonguss, even if he didn't get the flinch. It was going to put him in a bit of a hole no matter what.
Right, absolutely.
Oh, more stats.
More stats coming out. Garchomp opting to protect itself this turn from any incoming damage that can be dealt, as Blastoise fakes out, and Garchomp protects itself, and Tyranitar Dragon Dances.
Does manage to get Dragon Dance off. Now Omari knows that Lum is there. He probably won't spend so many turns trying to T-Wave it. He will just more directly try to KO it.
As Rotom goes for the Thunderbolt onto Tyranitar to deal some damage. Barely any damage. Blastoise going down even further from the chip, and now Dragon Dance T-Tar hits the field. I'm so excited.
All right, you see, I don't know that even with the Dragon Dance, Tyranitar is that much of a threat to Garchomp, who is threatening an EQ for a very important EQ here that would KO Blastoise and do massive damage to Tyranitar.
One word, Len. Flinch.
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 If I have seen any better Pokemon matches, I have seen so many flinches happen, and maybe Jackson will get payback for what happened in the first
Flinches have already reared their head in this game. They could easily come back again. A Rock Slide that flinches Garchomp would also break its sub and allow Blastoise to get a KO.
Jackson opts to withdraw Blastoise and save it for one more fake out possibly, as Tyranitar protects itself for this turn, and Rotom Heat comes in for the Blastoise. Garchomp Earthquaking into nothing this turn.
Yeah. A good way to negate the Earthquake there.
And Rotom Wash, Hydro Pumping, Omari sees the threat in Tyranitar, and he knows that Tyranitar needs to be out of there.
Well, he expected Blastoise to fall to Earthquake there, so he didn't really have any reason to target it.
Right.
Which is why Rotom was a pretty safe switch in.
Right. And now Jackson still needs to dig himself out of this hole with that sash revealed on Garchomp from the previous game.
Yeah, he's still in a tough place. He's going to probably need to get a flinch here.
And Tyranitar's going for it. Rock Slide. And no flinch. Earthquake goes off.
We'll see if this Earthquake manages to KO Tyranitar.
And
probably a less bulky variant of Tyranitar since it is Dragon Dance.
Absolutely. And Tyranitar goes down.
It's going to be very tough for Jackson to come back now.
Rotom Heat and Blastoise against...
Those would be the two Pokemon that are remaining on Jackson's Pokemon
against
team.
Garchomp and everybody else on Omari's team.
Charizard.
We saw Mammoth in team preview.
Yeah, we did see Mammoth in team preview, and based on how consistent Omari's been with what he brings so far, I was preemptively expecting it.
And, well, I mean, Jackson does have the fake out option, but Omari's just been always so
He can just double protect
about
again.
Absolutely.
Really, this is one of the reasons I've never been a huge fan of fake out. It's so easy to just negate it if you have protects everywhere.
Absolutely. The thing with fake out, if you're not setting something up, then it's kind of a wash.
Unless you have Liepard.
Or if you have Encore threats or anything like that of the sort. But again, Blastoise tries to fake out, desperately tries to get the fake out off into either protect again, and that turn is a wash. It's funny because we're actually using Rotom Heat, not Rotom Wash.
Yeah, it's more of a toast.
And Garchomp goes for the Rock Slide. knocks out the Blastoise, and Rotom Heat actually survives, or dodges it, and Charizard fires off the Heat Wave. And that did a lot of damage to the Sun, and Rotom Heat goes to the red as it fires off a Thunderbolt, and Charizard Y still survives. That is bulky.
It is a very bulky Charizard.
It has a lot of special defense in it, and now...
That's why, like Omari said, Charizard Y is leagues above all the other Mega Pokemon.
Jackson just
Concedes, knowing that a 100% accurate Dragon Claw was coming in. And
it was a good game. Jackson definitely played well.